Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thanks for tuning into this Your Overseas Home webinar on visas in Portugal. I'm Richard Way, a member of the Your Overseas Home team, and I'll be hosting the session. It's great to have you all with us, whether you're watching live or you're watching a recorded version, which is available through our on-demand page on the Your Overseas Home website. So you can revisit this at any time or direct friends, family, anyone who might find it useful to the session as well. If you're watching this, chances are you're planning or you're considering a move to Portugal, whether on a permanent or a more short-term basis. Great decision, by the way, one you shouldn't regret. Of course, in order to do this, and before you do anything else, you need to work out and obtain the most appropriate visa that would gain you Portuguese residency status. Once you have this, you can live there legally and enjoy the same or most of the same rights as Portuguese citizens. This takes planning as visa rules change, and every so often new types of visas are introduced as well. So it's a moving target. Lots to talk about then. It's not me who will be giving you all the useful information though. That's today's specialist speaker, who is Joanna Mil Homens. She'll probably say it properly for you in a minute. Who's from Portuguese law firm MATLAW. MATLAW specialises in helping foreign citizens buy property, move to Portugal. They can help with taxation as well. So they're a good go-to law firm if you're moving, buying a property. And Joanna is one of their migration and visa specialists. So welcome, Joanna. You can hear us okay?
Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you perfectly.
Okay.
Thank you so much. It's lovely. It's
Okay.
lovely being here. As Richard said, my name is Giovanna Milomes. You were pretty close. I'm a Portuguese lawyer and I work at MATLAW. You are of course, welcome to visit our website and get information there. But just to give you a little introduction, MATLAW is a Portuguese law firm focused on providing legal advice in real estate investment projects and a lot of connected areas, including the theme of our webinar today, immigration. So it is a pleasure to be here today, and thank you so much for your invitation.
Thank you very much. Just quickly, we've got about 30 minutes scheduled for this session, and we're doing a Q&A format. So I'm going to ask Joanna questions, which I hope cover off all the key information and topics about the visas that we think you need to know. But we also want you to get involved if you're watching live, and we welcome questions from you. To ask a question, please use the questions tool that you should see on the dashboard. If you just type your question there, then I'll field it to Joanna at an appropriate time. Let's make use of having her here. She's given up her time in Portugal to come on this webinar today, so it's a very useful opportunity. Okay, Joanna, you've told us about MATLAW. Let's start by just exploring what the rules are at the moment for people for non-EU citizens. So we're not talking about Portuguese people or anyone from the EU. So people like UK citizens, Americans, anyone else, third country nationals. If they want to visit Portugal without becoming a resident, we now know that there are rules about this, what we call the 180-day rule. So if you're a second homeowner, you need to know about this so you can you don't overstay your entitlement. Just talk us through the 180-day rule.
Okay, so that is actually a very popular question due to its implications, and it is a concern to a lot of our clients. So I'll try to break it down in two parts. So firstly, basically the 90-180 rule states that any foreign national who enters the Schengen area can stay up to 90 days within any 180 days period. But it's important to understand how to count these days. So basically, you have to understand that there are 2 points you should have 2 points in your mind. So first, when someone enters a country in the Schengen area, the 100-day period begins. But that's easy, okay? So you come, 180 days begin. However, you also must look at the past 180 days as well. And why is that? if you visited, let's say, Spain, so you visited Spain recently and you are now interested in visiting Portugal, you have to consider the amount of time that you were in Spain in the last 180 days. 180 days is about 6 months. So you just look at the past 6 months and then you do these calculations. So a quick example of how do you should consider these timelines is, let's say you enter Spain, Schengen area, in last Monday, so September 1st. You count backwards 180 days and calculate how many days you have spent in Spain during that time frame. If you've already spent, let's say, 60 days in the other country in the Schengen area that you visited, then you know that you only have 30 days left to visit Portugal. So that is not easy to understand, but you just have to keep in mind that it's in practice, I promise that it's easy. Okay. So
Mhm.
secondly, another important thing is to understand the consequences of overstaying your welcome. Let's put it like that. You'll be so there are a lot of risks and that you'll be considered illegal and that there could be problems with the immigration department, especially at airports. The consequences could vary, but they are, let's say, imposition of a fine. Amounts are very can depend on how long you overstay, but also you can be deported in the most extreme cases. You said that, so when we're speaking about people from the UK or US, they can come to Portugal without a specific visa. They can just come to Portugal and stay, and all they have to worry is the 90, 180-day rule, as you were talking. But let's suppose that you are from a country like, I'm thinking about China or Thailand, then you will need a special visa called the Schengen visa to come to Portugal. So if you're from Canada, US, UK, you're golden. You can come. But if you come from countries, especially in Asia and in Africa, then you will need that Schengen visa to come to Portugal legally, even if it's just for holiday.
Okay, so some countries you will need a visa anyway. Yeah.
Will need.
Great, thank you very much. And I think I'm right in saying that there's a website that can track or will be introduced that tracks your movement around
I have heard
in the
about
Schengen
that. I have
area.
never tried it, but I have heard
Yeah,
about that. Yeah.
so you can put in your arrival and departure dates, and it will tell you
And it will tell you
um,
how much days you have remaining. Yeah, there is. There is.
exactly.
Yeah.
Great, and just to confirm, the Schengen area is um,
It's
it's
most
most of the EU countries, isn't it? I think, yeah,
Yes, I was gonna,
it's
it's
an area
mostly
that's
your, yeah, yeah, it's mostly
which is
European
used to
countries. Yeah,
define the free movement areas.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So those are people who don't, or at the moment, don't intend on being residents. So people who want to move and become a resident in Portugal. Let's start off by talking about your average retired person or your average retired couple who are drawing pensions. They have other passive income. They're not going to be working. Um, Tell us about the most popular visa or what the visa that you would typically sort out for retirees in that position.
So for retirees, the D7 visa for sure. So the D7 visa is also known as the retirement visa because it's such a popular option for retirees, but it's actually a passive income visa. So this is the visa that you want to have if you have passive income, such as pensions, let's say rental income, dividends. If you have that type of income, so you're not actively
Mhm.
getting that income, it's from other investments that you made, then the passive income visa, also known as a D7 visa, will be the most suitable option for you for sure.
And with that visa, I'm right in saying you're not permitted to work in Portugal with that
You
visa. Is that
can
right?
work,
Or you
mm,
can work.
you
Okay.
you
Yeah.
can work in Portugal, but so when you get a residency card, when you're a legal resident in Portugal, you can work if you want to, but the visa, so the title, what entitles you to come to Portugal will be your passive income that you'll be having let's say in the UK or whatever you reside. So you can work in Portugal with the passive income visa, D7 visa. It's not very common. People, when they come with these type of visas, they just want to relax, enjoy the good weather, and just enjoy life. But you can do
Mhm.
it. It's just not very
Okay.
common.
Okay. So what are the main requirements to obtain a D7 visa? What do people need to provide and prove or show to get one?
What we always try to, so it's very important to know that you are eligible for the D7 visa for managing your expectations, all that. It's very important that we let clients know this is what you should expect for to be eligible for the D7 visa. So one thing that we always warn about is the income. So income is a very important requirement. The amount actually required corresponds to currently 12 minimum wages in Portugal. So at this moment, minimum wage I think is about 870 euros. So about
Mhm.
that, and it usually increases annually, but it's about that now. So 12 minimum wages, you will need about 10,000 euros to come
So,
to
so
Portugal.
that's
But let's
870 is the monthly wage, and then they work out an
yeah,
annual. So that's your
yeah,
annual
yeah, yeah, yeah.
income. Yeah.
So exactly, they want to know your annual income, or basically they want to know that you can support yourself considering a Portuguese annual income. More
Okay.
properly phrased, it's like that. But let's say you decide to bring your spouse. You don't want to come alone. You're married. Of course, you're not going to leave your spouse. You're going to bring them. So then you need 50% more for a second person. In other words, the income for a couple will be around 16,000 euros. So that's the type of income that you will need, again, annually. So that's the type of income that you will need to have before coming to Portugal. And that's passive income again. So rental income, pensions, dividends. Other requirements are the general requirements. So you need accommodation in Portugal. You can rent a property or buy one. You have to have things like a clean criminal record. So these are just general requirements that you're always going to need. And also another thing that we always like to point out, because we find that people are not always aware of this, is that they are minimum periods stay in Portugal. Because when you apply for a D7 visa, what you're telling us is that you intend to reside in Portugal. So our authorities say, okay, you can come, but you have to stay. If you want to live here, you have to stay during a minimum period. And what are those minimum periods? So in a 2-year time frame, you have to stay in Portugal 16 months during that 2-year time frame, allowing for up to 8 months of travel outside the country. So these are non-consecutive trips.
Mhm.
You can stay 18 months, or you can stay 18 months in Portugal, and you can stay away for 6 consecutive months. And this is really important for clients and everyone that decides to come here to know, because if you do not comply with those minimum requirements, when you have to renew. We can talk about that later, but you have to renew. And when you proceed with the renovation of your residence card, it may get rejected because you did not comply with this requirement. So this is of the utmost importance.
Yeah. So make note of that rule. Yeah, and
Make
don't
note.
overstep the line. Yeah. And with the income, does it matter if is there much flexibility if you've got a lot of savings, for example, cash in the bank, but
Yeah.
it might be just below the threshold of the income? Would
Well,
the government
quite
whoever grants the
frankly,
visa?
yes, quite frankly, it does help. So it does
Yeah.
not hurt to have that type of financial comfort, of course, as Portuguese authorities will look to see if you have the means of subsistence necessary to reside in Portugal. But when getting the D7 visa, the most important thing that I always tell clients is that you must have a steady source of passive income in this case. So it could be helpful that you have those types of savings, of course, but the most important thing to show is that you do have steady income flowing. So that's the most important thing.
Okay, thank you. Um, let's look at the actual process of applying for the visa. So how do you actually make the application? Is it I mean, you will help clients with the application. That's correct. So let's start with that. Someone will approach MATLAW or yourself, and then you will assist them with the paperwork, etc. And then what happens? How do you actually make the application? Because I believe you can do it. You don't do it in Portugal. Is that right?
No, we don't. So, regarding the process application, the main steps are, of course, organizing all the documentation, and this takes a while because it's a lot of bureaucratic stuff. But so, organization of the documentation and doing it properly, it's after the job is done if you do it properly. So that's the first step. Then you have to submit all the paperwork to the Portuguese consulate. So it's not in Portugal, it will be the Portuguese consulate of the country where you are residing. So you do not have to come to Portugal for this first step. A lot of people think so, but you do not have to come to Portugal. You stay in your country of residence and you go to the Portuguese embassy or consulate. Once the documentation has been submitted, the consulate has about 60 days to decide. They may notify you to submit more documentation, refuse, or approve the visa. Usually, they are a bit faster than these 60 days, and after your approval, they will schedule an appointment at IMA, which is the Portuguese competent entity, to analyze your application. And this appointment at IMA takes place a few months after the approval of the consulate. You may have heard about the fact that IMA is extremely slow. That's something that they're quite known for. However, good news is that there have been some structural changes and things are appearing to move faster. So a lot of people always ask us, so please tell me from beginning to end how much time are we talking about? And it's extremely hard to say, but I would say that from 8 months to a year, that's as of now, that's a good time frame. It's a good time frame to get your visa done from and your residence card actually done from beginning to end. So it's quite a journey.
Yeah. That's this thing, IMA. You mentioned IMA. Is that what is that? Is that another? Is that a department in the consulate, or
No,
is
so
that where you
IMA
go?
is the Portuguese administrative entity that is basically in charge of overseeing every application regarding immigration
Okay.
issues. So when you go to the consulate, um, they are connected to IMA, of course, and so that's true. But it they're not exactly the same. They're connected, but they're not exactly the same, and they do cross information, but they're not exactly the same. So IMA is the one that you'll be dealing with when you come to Portugal
Okay. So you make the application at your consulate in your existing country
in
of
your country of
residence,
residence. Yeah,
and then you get an invitation. You go to Portugal, and then you get the invitation to go to IMA. Right.
exactly. You get
Okay.
your visa approved after going to the consulate, and then you come back.
Okay.
You can go to Portugal, and that's where you get and that's where you go to your actual appointment at IMA. Of course, yeah,
I see. Okay. And all the work that you're doing with your client, this is all done, I guess, remotely. So if I was
yeah.
applying
It's done.
yeah,
Yeah, it's done remotely with a lot of help from post offices, DHL. It's done all remotely.
yeah, WhatsApp calls and FaceTime and Zooms and things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So once you, I'm just trying to think of the timelines here. If once I've submitted my application to the consulate, and then I'm waiting for my appointment from IMA,
Yeah.
when would is a good time to actually move to Portugal to relocate physically? Is it after the consulate application, or would you normally wait until you've got an appointment at IMA?
Well,
Or does it not really matter? You've got a few
here's
months
the
to
thing.
play with there.
So here's the thing. When people decide to come to Portugal, it's really important that they have, and that's a really important question. It's so important that they have those type of concerns figured out, because what people are not aware of is that when you do the application at the consulate, so we're talking about the first step, When you do your application at the consulate, you already have to have proof of accommodation. So at the
Okay.
very least, you have to have a rental agreement, or you have to have a property. You have to have bought a property, because it Portuguese authorities need to know that you have a place to reside. So if you're asking me, when should I'm thinking about buying a property, when should I do it? You should do it before the application of the process. So it's important to have a place of accommodation. And if you're already looking to buying a property, then our suggestion would do it, buy the property and then start your residency process.
Okay. Yeah, that answers it all quite comprehensively. Yeah. Great. And you talked about the renewal of the visa, because I think I'm right in saying the idea really is to do 5 years of residency so you can get your permanent residency. So the residency you'll get on your visa is valid for 2 years. Is that right? Initially, and then you
Yeah.
renew. Just tell us how that works.
Yeah. So at least as of now, it's important to reside in Portugal for 5 years. I don't want to get a lot. There's changes coming up, I'm sure. So
Mm.
there's conversations about extending from 5 to 10 years, but what we're talking about now is 5 years. So you come to Portugal, you get your residency card, and then it is valid for 2 years. You renew it one time for a 3-year period. At the end of that 3-year period, then you can apply for, at this moment, you can apply for permanent residency or citizenship. You can choose whatever suits you better. So that's it. I do must this the 3-year period for the renewal. It does change a bit concerning the residency card. So if you're talking about a D7, you renew it one time for 3 years. But if you're talking to me about a golden visa, the rules change a bit. So you renew it one time for 2 years, meaning that you are obligated to do two renewals before you can access the citizenship or the permanent residency.
Okay. You mentioned golden visa. Thank you very much. That's all useful about the D7. Let's look now at the other types of visa, a bit more specific to who they might suit. But just tell us about the other ones, the other main ones that you help clients with, entrepreneurs, digital nomads. Just run through those if you wouldn't mind.
So Portugal indeed offers several other visa routes, each designed for, of course, different profiles. There are a lot of them. I would say that the most relevant today, we have three. So we have the D2, the D8, and the Golden Visa. So I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk a little bit about what are the main advantages and disadvantages of each one. So the D2 visa is suited for entrepreneurs, freelancers, independent professionals who wish to start or run a business in Portugal. Key requirements, it's pretty similar to the D7 visa, but of course, then the specific requirements would be you have to have a viable business plan showing economic value to Portugal. You have to prove that you have sufficient financial means to support yourself and the business. You also have, this is common for every type of investment and residency process, you have to have accommodation in Portugal. So time scale, it's the same that the D7. So we're talking about 2 year. Your residency card will be valid for 2 years and it will be renewable for 3 benefits. We are talking about an investment, but it's a lower investment. We're talking about a lower investment threshold than the golden visa in comparison. So, and it does put you on the path for permanent residency or citizenship after 5 years, as we were talking about. The biggest disadvantage is I don't really consider this a disadvantage, but it does require a genuine business activity and an ongoing commitment to Portugal because you are coming with a business plan. So that's it, the D2 visa. The D8 visa is very, very, very popular right now. We call it the nomad visa, the D8 digital nomad visa. So it's obviously suited for remote workers and freelancers employed by foreign companies or self-employed but have foreign clients. So the key requirements are, of course, if you are employed, you have to have proof of employment, if you're self-employed, you have to have the contract with that your different clients. So you do have to prove employment or self-employment. The monthly income, and this is the biggest difference, when you come with the D8 um, digital nomad visa, it's really important to know that your income must be substantially higher than the one for the 7 or the 2 visa. So you're talking about a monthly income of at least 4 times the Portuguese minimum wage. That is about 3,280 euros in 2025. In
Mhm.
2026, it will probably be even higher. Again, proof of accommodation, you will always need this. And the time scale, it has the D8 actually has a nice thing that you can be issued a temporary visa stay up to a year, or you can have a residency card like any other, and that's 2 years renewable. It's interesting because it almost allows you to do a test drive of Portugal to see if you like it, which I guarantee
Mhm.
you will. But so it's a good option for if you're just trying something new. It's a very good option. So benefits, it's very tailored for remote workers. Disadvantage is that you do need a higher income than other visas. As for the golden visa, it is possibly our most popular one, but not the most used. You can say like that. So it's suited to investors that are seeking residency but do not want to stay in Portugal. So the key requirements as for now, and so just actually there's a lot of talk about the end of the golden visas. The golden visas have not ended in Portugal. They have just gotten this cosmetic surgery, if you will, and now there's something different. So they can't be related to real estate investment in whatsoever. They cannot be. So, but it still lives on. It's just a little bit different. So the clear requirements is that you do have to make a specific type of income of investment. So we're talking about, for example, creating jobs in Portugal, investing in scientific research, cultural projects, or Portuguese businesses, or just investment in venture capital or private equity fund participation. So these were always in place, but of course the buying property and getting the golden visa was always the most common and popular choice. So again, real estate option is no longer available. So again, disadvantage is that the initial residence permit is valid for 2 years and it's renewable for 2 year period and not 3 years as the other residence cards. And the other disadvantage is that the investments must are actually really high. We're talking about 500,000 investment, and also longer application analysis time. IMA takes a long time to go through golden visa processes. We never understood quite why, but that's the reality. As for benefits, very low stay requirement in Portugal, just 7 days per year on average, and family members can come. Family members can also come with the other uh, options that I talked about, but again, with Golden Visa, it's your family can come, but does not have to reside in Portugal. And also, Golden Visa also allows you the path to citizenship in 5 years or permanent residency. So that's
Okay.
the most important thing, I would say. Still the most popular options besides the D7 visa, I would say the D2, D8, and the Golden Visa.
The golden visa, and the D7 is most popular with lifestyle people coming to
Yeah,
Portugal for lifestyle retirees. That's the main route for them.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I would, yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Joanna. That's been really useful. We're kind of approaching our allotted time, but we've got some questions, so let's look at those now. I think you've answered this one from Andrew. He says, is there a minimum passive income level you need for the D7? You said it's
The
equal
12
to the
minimum wages. Yeah,
of Portuguese minimum wage. So it's a case of just checking because that changes every year, doesn't it? It goes what
it
that is.
does. So every
Yeah.
year you need to check what is the current amount. It
So it's
usually
roughly 870 euros a month at the moment.
870. There are plans to increase it. So if you do plan to come to Portugal in 2026, go. You have to update the numbers because they're probably going to be higher. Yeah.
Okay. This is from Martin. He wants to move to Portugal in November this year. Probably initially just only for 4 to 6 months. So that's not going to work with the 180-day rule, is it? So he'd need a visa. But he's in the process of selling his home in the UK, which will probably happen next year. If he sells his home in the UK while he's in Portugal, what are the implications? This is a bit more of a tax question. He is an EU citizen as well. I guess that comes down to wherever he's tax resident. So if he's in Portugal,
Well, if he's in Portugal, so if he's in Portugal during that time, if I understood correctly, he can actually come under the 90, 180. No,
yeah,
it could actually, no. It's going to be a little bit higher than that. So it can stay up to 90 days, of course. So, but if he sells the property here, it will not have any consequences in Portugal because his tax residency is not here. So it
yeah,
cannot be taxed here in
he can't be
no way.
taxed. Yeah, yeah, he'll need to be in Portugal.
In Portugal, no. He's going to be taxed and in the country where his tax residency is.
And also, if he sells, he needs to work out to avoid the second home capital gains tax, because if it's his primary residence and he sells it as his primary residence, then he won't be taxed. So he needs to. He probably wants specialist tax advice on that, how to avoid that by timing it correctly, so that he doesn't get caught for the second home for capital gains.
Well, Martin,
Unless
you
it
should
is,
get in contact with us. We can help you on that. We
yeah.
have some experts on tax that can certainly help you with that.
I think that's one to take off the session. Yeah. Okay. From Namisha, they ask if 16 months stay in another EU country. Don't quite understand the questions. If they stayed 16 months in another EU country in the Schengen area, would Portugal accept that as equivalent as being a resident for a qualifying period? So can you go and spend 16 months in another
No,
Schengen area country? No, you have to be in
no,
Portugal, don't you? Yeah.
that's no equivalent of getting a residency permit. That's not an equivalent. And
No.
actually, different countries have different rules, but the rules are pretty much the same in the Schengen area. So if the consequences that I spoke about before, fines and being deported, may be applicable in other countries. Of course, I do
Yeah.
not know which country is, but rules are pretty much the same. So
I
be
think
aware
I'm
of
right in
that.
saying that the visa you get, it means you can travel freely in the EU, but you can't live there under that visa. You have to spend your time in the country in Portugal. Yeah.
Yes, and respect the minimum requirements
Yeah.
and when it comes to staying in Portugal. Yes.
Okay. Sue has a question. Is it still the case that your AIMA appointment in Portugal could be anywhere in the country and not necessarily close to where your Portuguese address is Is that something you've found?
Unfortunately, yes. I have
Oh,
no
really?
idea why they do that. That's very frustrating. We have clients that are in the Algarve, so that's south of Portugal, getting their appointments in Braga, which is
I
very
know.
northern Portugal,
Yeah,
and it makes no sense. But I guess it's just to avoid, they want to spread applications, so things don't get
make
left
it.
behind, which I understand, but it is very frustrating. It is for
It's a good
clients.
excuse. It's a good excuse to explore another part of the country as well.
It is
Visit a new
it
town.
is. That's very
There's
true. You get to
put a positive
explore and
spin on
meet
it.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and get to know new places. Yeah.
Thank you. Another question from Benjamin. If we've said that ideally you would have a property, you would have bought your property in Portugal before you apply for your visa.
Yeah.
But does that not mean there's a danger of not getting your visa for some reason, which means if you wanted to move to Portugal, you might be left obviously with your house there, but not able to go and live there. Or
No,
does that happen, or do you normally you're going to get the visa
no,
before you?
and no, and our normal experience with clients is that re- uh, buying the property first or renting the property first and then starting a residency process. You do not get any disadvantage, or you're not going to get penalized by having bought a property before, because that does not make sense. What Portuguese authorities want is that you have a place to stay.
Yeah,
So no, you're not going to get stuck with a second home in Portugal and not get your residency permit. That's not something that happens.
not something to worry about. Okay,
No.
that's reassuring. Thank you. Good question from Alan. He says, "What's the difference between permanent residency and citizenship, which
Okay.
which you get after
So
5 years?"
that's a fun question, because a lot of people think it's the same thing, and it's not. So when you are talking about a permanent residency, what you are talking is that you are considered still a resident, but you do not you have your residency card valid for 10 years. So that's like any other ID card in Portugal. My ID is also to be renewed every 10 years. You just don't have the constant renewals, and there's no restrictions. So that's something to keep in mind. You have your residency card that allows you can basically do everything you do now with a temporary residency card, but you have no restraints when it comes to time frames. So that's the main advantage. In citizenship, you obviously become a Portuguese citizen, but you also become a citizen of the EU, which is something very nice. You get the free movement, free capital, free everything. So that's, of course, very positive. And I think that the best thing is actually that you get to vote in Portugal. So you do get to have an active participation in Portugal. There are just little things that you have to understand, that when you are applying for citizenship, you do have to have a Portuguese test. So you do have to prove that you can speak Portuguese, not fluent Portuguese, nothing like that, but you can understand and you can speak. Also, they may just ask you about some cultural stuff, things like that. And when you ask for your residency permit, even the permanent one, no one asks you that. So citizenship, you are Portuguese.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Some other questions here. I think we've answered them, but I'll just run through them. Retirement visa rules. Is this the D7? Yes, that's what you call the retirement visa. Also, the passive
Yeah.
income visa. Yeah. Do you need a license of any kind to buy property in Portugal? No.
No,
No.
no, you do not need any license related to you. No, of course, when
No.
it comes in with Portugal, and that's real estate, but there are some documentation that the property needs to have, but that's not of your concern. That's the vendor's concern. That's your lawyer's concerns. You do not need to worry about that.
You don't need one yourself. No.
Yeah.
Great. And oh, he's just sneaked a final question in, Gary. How do you become a tax resident in Portugal? you spend enough
So,
time.
and that's actually, yeah, well, it's actually nice to have that question because a lot of people confuse legal residency with tax residency. And one thing that it's important to know that legal residency is about your right to stay in Portugal. Tax residency is about where you are taxed. You can be legally resident without being a tax resident. And this is a little confusing, but just think about the golden visa example. So you are a legal resident in Portugal, but you only stay 7 days a year in Portugal. So you do not stay enough time to be considered a tax resident. So when are you considered a tax resident in Portugal? So you need to spend 183 days or more in Portugal in any 12-month period, and these may be consecutive or not. So pay attention to that. Or so 183 days, or you have an habitual residency in Portugal that can create the presumption that you intend to use it as your main residency worldwide. So this is your main house, let's put it like that. This is where you reside, you live, you have your family. So one of these two. The second, it's a little bit hard. You have to prove that you intend to make it your primary home. It's a little bit hard to do. The second, please take in consider, people need to be aware of that 183 days and you are considered a tax resident in Portugal, meaning you will have to pay tax in Portugal. So for financial planning, that is important.
And I'm right in saying the tax year is January to December, isn't it? It's calendar year in Portugal.
Yeah, from 1st of January to the end of December. Unlike you have it until April. Is that correct?
Is April to April to April.
Yeah.
Which actually means if you arrive in Portugal after 1st of July, you can't actually be tax resident that year because it's impossible to spend.
Because you do not comply with the requirements. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's
if you intend to stay in Portugal for a long time, do not come before the 1st of July.
That's it. Yeah. Right. We need to end there on that note. Great little nugget to end on. So thank you everyone who's watched this, whether it's live or you're watching a recorded version. Do contact Joanna if you're ready to use MATLAW services or you've got any other questions. Great team there. They'll help you. I know they've helped lots of people, so take advantage of them. Thank you very much, Joanna. Appreciate you giving up your time and sharing all that useful information with us. Small request from the team here.
Richard.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Small request from the team here. If you found this useful and you're feeling generous, do leave us a review on the review website Trustpilot. There's a link to do that. There it is. Yeah, you can click on that. I also have a save the date for you, which is the Your Overseas Homes comprehensive virtual event on the 4th of October from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So overlaps with a bit of daylight time in America across the pond there. So US citizens can tune in. And it's an event that brings together all types of specialists from property and relocation, immigration, and they're available in real time to talk to you, answer questions via our virtual event platform. There'll be seminars as well. We'll be a bit like this session. We'll be asking questions and covering off all the main topics involved with buying in all different countries, not just Portugal, or getting visas there. And you can do it from the comfort of your sofa at home because it's all virtual via your computer or laptop. Otherwise, that's it from us here. Thanks again, Joanna. Good luck with your plans to buy in Portugal or move to Portugal. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.